Hey, so before we start the video, just a quick 30 seconds of your time please. I recently got sent a brand new BenQ W1800i 4K HDR projector, and the company said they wanted me to review the new system whilst talking about a movie or TV show that has had a lot of impact on me. So as a thank you to them, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on it towards the end of the video, whilst also going over how much I love Squid Game. I used to have the W2700 from them, which has one of the best projector pictures I've ever seen, and we'll be going over whether this improves on it or not. Now in this video, we're going to be answering all of the big questions you have on Squid Game, including why Ilnam created it, what happened to the frontman, and also why Gi-hun did things like dyeing his hair. And it's beyond just being fashionable. Now the first thing we're going to be going over is why Ilnam created the tournament. Though very little is known about the character, we learn in the series that when he was growing up, he played lots of games as a kid. These included all of the things that we see in the show, and this also explains why he's so good at playing them. Ilnam's entire life is centered around games and, well, gambling. Even on his deathbed, he still attempts to play a final one with Gi-hun, in which he bets whether anyone will help a man passed out in the freezing cold. Just as he loses this, he loses his life, and everything is all tied together in such a way that it makes for an awesome final scene. Now firstly, I just want to go into the reason behind why he did it at face value, before diving into what I think the hidden meaning behind it is. We learn that Ilnam built a vast fortune for himself, and because of this, money was never an object. Whatever he wanted to do, he could, but this also came with its downsides. Nothing was out of his reach any longer, there was nothing else that would prove a challenge to him, and thus everything became rather pedestrian. Now this actually reminds me a lot of an old Twilight Zone episode called A Nice Place to Visit, due to the psychological aspects in it. That episode followed a man named Rocky who was shot dead after robbing a pawn shop. In the afterlife he met what appeared to be an angel, and he told him that it was his job to give Rocky whatever his heart desires. Initially, he believed he was in heaven because he won every single game that he played, and he was loved and adored by everyone that he came across. However, as the episode went on, he realized he was in hell because everything was going his way no matter what. Rocky very much came to the conclusion that the rest of eternity would be miserable because his need to do better and improve had been completely stripped away from him. This is very much how I view Ilnam, and he tells us that he found some common ground with his other rich friends who felt the same way. Thus they set up Squid Game and started to recruit people from across the world. In episode 5 we see that this has gone back decades, and that over the years, thousands upon thousands have met their deaths for the entertainment of the VIPs. At one point it's said that this is very much a form of gambling for them, and we as humans subject animals such as horses to partake in games for us, much like how Ilnam and co do. Now why the twist is so shocking is because Ilnam comes across as one of the nicest people in the show. During the marbles game, I'm pretty sure everyone was upset when he apparently died, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me hate Gi-hun for a bit. I think what Ilnam and the VIPs do to ease their conscience is that they make the majority of the games something that the contestants have to agree to. Everyone signs a waiver before entering the competition, and they are given options to forfeit and leave with their lives should they wish to. I think what's likely the case is that they've done the games enough times now to know that many will want to quit after the first one, but that the prize money will always bring them back. These are of course desperate people that we're dealing with, and they're hand-selected by the recruiter, likely due to their appearance and also circumstances. Thus, to ease the conscience of the VIPs, they are given the opportunity to quit, and then it's entirely on them if they decide to come back. Ilnam had very much lived a life of betting and gambling, and we know from the show that he was diagnosed with a tumour. I believe that before he got gravely ill, that the character wanted to have one more real big gamble, and thus he decided to play his game from the other side. He picked up number 1, and interestingly Ilnam actually translates to 1 as well, which is a clue that he was behind it all. Now in the game, I believe that he finds something he did not expect to, and that is an heir. When we join him at his deathbed, there's no relatives there or anyone close to him to keep him company. He is truly alone except for Gi-hun, and it's possible that in this game he came across someone that literally or figuratively was like a son to him. Now why I said literally is because there are some hints in the series that the pair are actually related. In episode 3, Gi-hun goes to get some milk, and he tells the god that he can't have it and asks for some chocolate flavour instead. Ilnam makes fun of him and says that his son used to do the same and that he'd beat him for it. When they're playing marbles, Ilnam walks through the streets, and he comes across somewhere that resembles his childhood home. Interestingly, Gi-hun also says that an alleyway resembles where he lived when he was younger, and it is possible that the pair are related. If that's indeed the case, then it would mean that Ilnam abandoned Gion when he was very young in order to gamble and to play games. This is not dissimilar to how we meet Gion, who is betting on horses, in debt over his head, and also at a point where his daughter is taken away from him. At the end of the season, he's meant to be flying out to LA in order to meet with her, but instead he ends up heading back to seemingly stop the games. All of these similarities make me think that Ilnam wasn't just playing the games in order to see what they were like, but he was also trying to find a replacement. Ilnam has no heirs or people to pass his legacy to, and thus I believe that he went through the selection process in order to see if there was anyone else worthy to take up the leadership of the games. Now this definitely has been seen in the past and how they've operated. In episode 5 we learned that Inho, aka the frontman, had actually been a part of the games, and because he's still alive, it's likely that he won them. He's also been drafted into the running of the games, probably because he's now so rich that he realizes he has more in common with Ilnam and the like than he does the typical man. That being said, I have no idea how much that amount of money actually is worth, and maybe he still needs a job. Anyway, this idea of Gion becoming closer to those in power is pretty much telegraphed to us at the end. Not only does he completely change his appearance and start dressing smarter, but he also dyes his hair red. Red throughout the series is seen as a colour that showcases power, and whether it was the cards given out by the recruiters or the gods themselves, red indicates someone is part of the system rather than being a player. Thus I think the reason that Ilnam created the games is because he not only wanted a fun time for him and his friends, but he also wanted someone to take over them. In the finale we learn that the games are still going on, and thus they are likely looking for other people to either watch over it or to run it. Ilnam has left a void in the operation that needs to be filled, and I'd absolutely love to see Gion step into it. Gion has demonstrated that he's willing to abandon his family to take the tournament down, but it might end up being the key to seeing him becoming the very thing that he hates. Now, similar to this ideology, the frontman was also willing to cast his family to the side in order to continue playing the game. In the series we watched as his brother attempted to find out his connection to the games, and the two eventually came face to face. The frontman ended up shooting his brother, and he seemingly fell to his death. After the review part of the video, I'll talk about whether I think Hwang Junho is alive or not, but this move by Inho is very important. It shows that he's now completely detached from his family, and as we know, someone is still running the games in Ilnam's absence. Thus I would imagine that he is now taking up the leadership position, as he was pretty much being put in that place anyway due to his closeness to Ilnam. The frontman describes things as being a dream, and he says to Gion that it really wasn't a bad one for him. Because of this, I believe that he himself has accepted what he went through, and instead of seeing it in a negative light like Gion does, he's now just viewing it as gambling with people as the horses. Anyway, before we get into the final part of the video, it's time to tell you about the W1800i and what I thought about it. Like I mentioned at the start, I used to have the W2700 and I absolutely love that projector, so I was happy to get this new one from the company. Now where this differs from the previous model is that it's a smart projector and it comes with a dongle that has apps especially built for the projector such as Prime Video and more. These aren't just your typical bog standard versions, and just in the same way your YouTube app might look different on your phone to your TV, these have been designed with projectors in mind. The brand new remote also gives voice control so you can quickly look up shows in a matter of seconds without having to type things out. This leads to a super easy to use system that's very straightforward to set up, and it means you can immediately get to watching your favourite shows and films. The new smart system can also connect to your Wi-Fi, and it allows screen mirroring from your phone and iPad. The projector is super simple to set up, and you pretty much just take it out the box, plug it in, point it at the wall and turn it on. Me and my wife, we already had things set up for an overhead one, and it was just a case of unscrewing that and putting this new one in, which took roughly about 10 minutes. Now the projector itself, as far as I'm concerned, provides the best picture I've ever seen, and though my phone isn't really giving the true detail that it gives off, trust me when I say it looks incredible in real life. Due to the 4K HDR picture it projects, really sucks you into whatever you're watching, and it's capable of projecting a 100-inch image across your room to really bring that cinema experience home. I thought that the W2700 was as good as the image could get, but this somehow improves on it and makes it an absolutely incredible picture that allows you to see films and shows like never before. The projector comes with state-of-the-art cinematic color technology that provides a million different shades, and when you're watching something like Squid Game, it really pops from the screen. That show is of course filled with a number of different colours, and it's got an HDR presentation that makes it a blast to watch on things like the W1800i. Now there are some downsides to it as well, and whereas the last remote lit up when you pressed a button on it, this one doesn't, so it can make it difficult to select options when you're in the dock. The sound is also something that you might need to buy additional speakers for if you want that true cinematic experience, as it is a bit on the downside. I'm not really a big audiophile, so I didn't mind it that much, but yeah, it did feel like it was lacking slightly. I'd say it's pretty much equal to what you get out of most flat screens these days, so you'll know from that whether you want additional speakers or not. Now whilst the dongle is also a nice addition, it's also missing some apps at the moment, but if you've got a Fire Stick or something to that effect, you shouldn't really notice too much, as you can of course use that instead. Overall though, I really love the projector, and if you're looking to move in this direction, I definitely think it's the way to go. So for the picture, I'm going to score it a 10 out of 10, and that's purely because I haven't really seen an image better. It's cinema quality, and it perfectly projects 4K UHD discs, and it also streams in really high quality. For sound, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, and that's just due to the limitations of the speaker on board it. You probably will want to buy additional ones if you want the full cinematic experience at home, but it's nothing too bad. Now for usability, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, and that's because of the remote. Overall though, really good projector, and thank you to BenQ for sending it out for me to review. Now finally, we're going to be talking about whether Jun-Ho is still alive at the end of Squid Game. Throughout the series, we watched as he investigated his brother's whereabouts, and he was shot by him at the end. His body was never found, and there are some hints that he's still alive and that he managed to escape. Now the first tease is that he got shot in a similar position to his brother. The pair both fire at one another, and it's an almost eye for an eye situation. We know that In-Ho survives the bullet wound, and therefore it is possible that Jun-Ho does too. There is definitely a lot of options for him to take to get out of there, and personally I believe that he made it. Now one of the counter arguments to this is that the games are still running, and thus he hasn't brought them down. People have argued that this is because he's dead, but there could be another reason. Now the fall likely destroyed all of the evidence that he had, and thus he would likely have to wait it out another year until the tournament started up again, so that he could sneak into the facility under the guise of being a god. Jun-Ho would have to pretend to be dead for a year in order to accomplish this, and it will allow for him to strike without anyone finding out. So yeah, I'm holding out for you, Jun-Ho. I'm holding out that hope. You better still be alive, because I want you in Season 2. I've loved talking about the series, and we've still got a lot of topics to go over, including Season 2. If you've enjoyed it, then please hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for videos like this each and every day. We are running a competition right now and giving away 3 copies of the Phase 3 MCU box set on the 30th of October, and all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the video. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the best theories surrounding the show, which will be linked on screen right now. There's so many things to talk about in that, and hopefully I'll see you over there right after this. If not, then thank you for sitting until the end of the video. I've been Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, peace.